Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 4, Decision-Making Institutions. Now let us have introduction about the unit. India has chosen to follow parliamentary democracy, wherein elected representatives form the government. In this system, government is continuously responsible and answerable to the elected representatives of the people. The government, while making foreign policy, has to be considerate of people's will. Let us see and try to understand how Indian parliamentary government faces the task of making foreign policy. Traditionally, foreign policy making in European countries was the concern of concerned foreign office and the minister in charge. Secrecy was the motto of foreign policy making. Neither the public opinion was allowed to be formulated, nor even national parliaments normally debated foreign policies. But in a parliamentary democracy, as in India, decision making in foreign policy is highly diffused. It is difficult to decide as to who makes a policy decision and at what level was it decided. Thus, it is necessary for us to know foreign policy decision making process. When we use the term process, it can suggest that decision making is a smooth flow amongst the predetermined participants. But often foreign policy making is a zigzag process. All participants do not necessarily participate in all decision making. Yet, it is accurate to say that foreign policy in India, broadly speaking, is finalized by the Council of Ministers, headed by the Prime Minister. Cabinet is the inner circle of the Council of Ministers, but even cabinet is too large a body to take all policy decisions. The cabinet has a subcommittee called Cabinet Committee on Security (CCS), which decides most of the issues affecting vital foreign policy and national security issues. Thus, within the government, it is this CCS that gives final shape to foreign policy and security related issues. Prime Minister Vajpayee said, in the context of India offering to cooperate with the United States in its fight against the international terrorism after 11th September 2001, that in policy making, debates and discussions do take place as they meet. But once we take a position, everyone falls in line. It is now agreed that foreign policy is a synthesis of the ends and means of nation states. Here, ends are national interest and means is power. Thus, the interaction between national goals and its resources to be able to synthesize the ends and means is the task of foreign policy makers, while the simplest way to define foreign policy is the way a country handles the outside world. A more scientific definition is given by Modalski. He says activities evolved by communities for changing the behavior of other states and for adjusting their own activities to the international environment. Here, one may rather use the term regulating the behavior of other states so as to serve one's nation state interest. But the essence is always protection and promotion of one's own national policy. Power is the means without which effective foreign policy cannot be formulated. In India, the political leadership gives final shape to its foreign policy, but it is largely the outcome of inputs from various institutions in the government. The most important instrument being the Ministry of External Affairs. In this unit, we will learn about the various organs and agencies of government, with the Prime Minister at the top, who plays different roles in foreign policy decision making in India. Now, let us discuss foreign policy making and the Ministry of External Affairs MEA. Foreign policy making is a highly complex and complicated process. In a domestic policy issue, for instance, like checking the increase in the price of a commodity, say onion or potato, one can easily decide the options like buying it from the abroad or control its price. But foreign policy requires expert knowledge and its application. The simple reason is that since foreign policy is in relation to another state or states, their behavior is not under the control of India. The Indian policymakers can only make an intelligent guess about the likely behavior of another state in a particular case. Thus, should India initiate a dialogue with Pakistan, now having steadfastly stated that for negotiations to be fruitful, Pakistan needs to demonstrate its seriousness in checking cross border terrorism. Is the gambling going to pay off dividends? Is the Prime Minister right in saying that this will be his final effort or he will retire if he did not succeed? Will that kind of statement influence decision making in Islamabad? What if Pakistani decision makers calculate to wait for one more year till the next elections in India, hoping that a Congress government might come to power and offer better terms to Pakistan? One can never get a firm answer to these questions. Ministry of External Affairs is the ministry in the government that is expected to provide intelligent, accurate answers to the questions above, as it's supposed to be the storehouse of expert knowledge on foreign affairs. The Minister of External Affairs, sometimes called Foreign Minister, is the head of the MEA. He is the political appointee member of the cabinet, not necessarily an expert in foreign affairs decision making. But all policy and decisions recommended by the experts in the ministry are cleared or modified by the minister before their implementation. Several policy decisions cleared by the minister require final approval of the cabinet. The Indian Foreign Service IFS officials selected through the competitive examination conducted by the Union Public Service Commission primarily man the MEA. The foreign secretary is a very senior and experienced IFS officer and the permanent head of the ministry. He is an important advisor to the foreign minister. There are two other senior officials to assist the foreign secretary, known as Foreign Secretary West and Foreign Secretary East. These officials normally are very senior persons chosen to head the work in MEA. There are three additional secretaries to assist the Foreign Secretary. The work of MEA is divided into 24 divisions. A joint secretary heads each division. There are 12 territorial divisions dealing with a group of countries belonging to a limited region like Canada and America, Latin America and Caribbean countries, Gulf, East Asia, etc. There are 11 functional divisions like protocol, external publicity, historical, policy planning, and the UN, etc. There is one administrative division which does a kind of housekeeping work of the MEA itself. It is necessary for us to be familiar with the work of some of the significant divisions from the viewpoint of decision making. In the beginning, there was no policy planning or any division to think ahead of times and plan to meet any contingencies or conduct research. There was only the historical division. It was providing information necessary to the territorial division as and when they needed it. But the need to establish a planning and research division was felt after the experience of the Chinese attack in October 1962. When the Chinese attack took place, the MEA did not have much information to support India's claim for territory over which China had raised the dispute. Then in 1963, East Asia Research and Coordination Division was established. From its very name, it is obvious that its jurisdiction was limited to China. However, in 1965, a broad-based planning and research division known as Current Research Division was created. In 1966, it was renamed as Policy Planning and Review Division with a Policy Planning and Review Committee. But it was actually used by Mrs. Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi to dump those who could not be accommodated elsewhere. At present, there is a Policy Planning and Research Division in the MEA. While the purpose is to have some talented officials to do planning and forecasting, the division is used to place an official till he can get a regular posting. The IFS officials are sent abroad to man the embassies in different foreign capitals. Besides other functions, the embassies actually act as the official centers for collecting information on developments in the foreign countries. They gather information that may not be openly available in the country. The information collection has also become a specialized job. A person trained as a professional diplomat is not necessarily suitable for collecting information, say, on military developments or agriculture. Thus, within the embassies, you will find officials like agriculture attaché or military attaché who perform specialized job of collecting information in their respective areas like agricultural progress or military development in the country where the embassy is located. In powerful countries like US or UK, one will also find such attaches in other fields like industry, education, science and technology, etc., depending upon the needs of India and the known importance of a country where such an embassy is located. In addition to the information collected by the embassies openly by the diplomatic personnel, states also depend on vital information collected secretly by the representatives of the state. Such information is called intelligence. Intelligence is very crucial for policy making. Often we read in the newspapers that informed public or even policy makers attribute a failure in policy making to intelligence failure. For instance, the Pakistani soldiers were said to have occupied Kargil peaks long before it came to light only on 6th May 1999. It was then attributed as a failure of intelligence. To gather foreign intelligence, there is a special agency called Research and Analysis Wing (RAW) of the Cabinet Secretariat. It is India's equivalent of Central Intelligence Agency CIA in the US. The Intelligence Bureau (IB) gathers internal intelligence. Whenever the policy makers blame intelligence, the intelligence officials tend to feel that they are blamed for the failure of the policy makers and they are unable to defend themselves. Intelligence officials, as a result, tend to present all intelligence gathered rather than providing intelligence after proper analysis. This trend defeats the very purpose of having separate intelligence agencies. Now we want to wind up this lecture and thank you so much for your attention.